If your farm has livestock, having an accurate estimate of the total annual quantity of manure is important when planning your manure applications. In this tutorial, you will learn how to estimate the known annual quantity of manure available using 3 different methods in SnapPlus version 3. Those 3 methods are estimating manure quantities using annual livestock numbers in the Livestock tab, estimating manure quantities based on available storage in the Storage tab, and finally, estimating using spread air capacity and loads applied in the Spreaders tab. One important note is that the first and second methods, which are the Livestock and Storage tabs, are important to fill out if you have livestock on your farm because information from both of these calculators is used when generating the winter spreading report. Let's start today on the Nutrients page in the Manure and Biosolids tab to understand where we'll be entering the numbers of our estimates for manure quantities. On this tab, we can see that I have 2 different sources in this plan. On the right side, I have a table called Manure Quantities for a specific crop year. I can change which crop year I'm working in by selecting a different option from the drop-down menu shown here. Our goal today is to use information about the livestock, storage, and spreaders on this farm in order to get numbers to fill out this column in the manure quantities table, which is the available annual quantity of manure. This is an important number because it helps planners understand how much manure needs to be planned for in a given crop year based on what's available. Let's start in the Livestock tab today. The first method using the livestock numbers is done by entering all of the animals that produce manure on the farm by type and size or weight. Let's assume that this farm has 200 milking cows, 40 heifers. We'll start by adding the milking cows. To begin, we'll confirm that we have the correct crop year selected in the upper left-hand corner. Then we'll click Add Livestock. When we click this button, we see a list of all the available livestock. We will scroll down to pick one of the dairy lactating cows options. Once we have selected a animal type from the menu, it's added to our table. Next, we need to enter the number of head for this specific animal. In this case, we have 200 milking cows. Other important information to fill out in this table are the percentage of manure collected and spread as solid, collected and spread as liquid, and if these animals spend any of their time grazing, to get an estimate of the percentage of that time spent grazing. In our example with the milking cows, let's say that 100% of the milking cow's manure is collected as liquid. We would enter 100% in this column. Once we enter our percentage, SnapPlus calculates the total collected gallons per year from these 200 lactating cows based on the total number of days and other information about the amount of manure produced per animal per day. We can see here to the right that we're expected to collect about 2.2 million gallons of liquid manure from our lactating cows. Next, let's add some heifers. We'll go back to the Add Livestock button, select heifers, and fill out some information. We have 40 heifers on the farm, and let's say that 100% of their manure is collected as a solid. So we'll enter 100% here in the collected and spread as solid column. Now we have an estimate for the collected tons per year of solid manure from the heifers. The other thing to notice is that SnapPlus is keeping track of the farm totals here on the upper left-hand corner. So we can see that we have 416 tons of solid manure and about 2.2 million gallons of liquid manure. If we had additional animals on this farm, we could continue adding them by clicking on this Add Livestock button and selecting the correct type. Let's imagine that we have some dairy dry cows to account for. We'll enter 40 dairy dry cows in this example, and let's say that they spend 25% of their time grazing, and the rest of their time their manure is collected as a solid. 75 and 25 added together make 100. And we can see here that what SnapPlus does is it does the math to account for how much solid manure is collected and how much manure is expected to be deposited on pasture. These numbers are added to our farm totals in the upper left-hand corner. If you don't have previous spreading records, these totals based on manure production of your different animals can be a good place to start for a number to enter back on the Manure and Biosolids tab here in Available Annual Quantity. Notice that the Livestock tab calculator is not connected to Available Annual Quantity, so you'll need to come in here and enter the appropriate numbers for each source based on the totals that you're seeing on your Livestock tab. Let's do an example of the solid manure. I have 750 tons of solid manure estimated from the Livestock tab. I can enter this over on the Manure and Biosolids tab for my bedded pack source, which is my solid source. When it comes time to enter manure and livestock numbers for the following year, we can select the next crop year from our menu. And to save ourselves some time, we have the option to copy livestock numbers from the prior year, and then we can edit them as needed in case there have been any details that have changed since the previous year. This can be a fast way to update your livestock numbers from year to year. The second method for estimating annual manure volume is from the manure storage on the farm. Let's take a look at the Nutrients page Storage tab to understand how to use this tool. We can select the correct crop year from the drop-down in the upper left-hand corner, and we can add a storage by clicking on the plus Add Manure Storage button. Let's start by giving our storage a name of Manure Pit. Next, we have the choice to pick tons or gallons depending on whether this storage is for solid or liquid manure. Let's say our pit can hold a maximum capacity of 1.5 million gallons. We enter that number here. In addition, we know how many times a year this particular pit is emptied. If this pit was emptied twice when it was 3/4 full, we would add 0.75 plus 0.75 to get 1.5. That's the total number of times that this pit was emptied in this year. After we have entered this information, SnapPlus automatically calculates the amount of manure collected annually based on this storage information. If you have multiple manure storage facilities on your farm totals will be shown at the top, adding together solid sources to show the tons and liquid sources to show the gallons. The third and final method for estimating total manure production is to use the spreader volume and load method using the Spreaders tab on SnapPlus version 3. First, let's start on the Nutrient screen to make sure that we know where we'll be entering the number that we calculate from the Spreaders tab. In our example, we're hoping to calculate the available annual quantity to enter for our daily haul. Let's head to the Spreaders tab. Let's assume that this farm has a box spreader that has been weighed with a full load at 5 tons. Last year's spreading records indicate a total of 128 loads were spread. As a quick note, before entering spreader information, it's a good idea to get your spreader weighed with a full load and calibrated for an accurate spreading rate. Contact your local county land conservation office or extension agent for assistance with this. Here on the Spreaders tab, we can add a spreader by clicking plus Add Manure Spreader. The information we need to enter here starts with the spreader name. Our spreader has a load size of 5 tons, which we enter in the load size column. In the units column, we select the correct units based on whether we're working with solid or liquid manure. In our example, tons is the correct unit. We know that we spread 128 loads last year, so we'll use that as a starting point for estimating this year's manure quantity. After I entered the number of loads per year, SnapPlus calculated the quantity of manure spread annually based on our load size, multiplied by our loads per year, to get a total amount of 640 tons spread annually. If this spreader has been calibrated, we also have the option to enter the calibration date and the calibrated rate here in SnapPlus. SnapPlus keeps track of your farm totals in the upper left-hand corner on the Spreading tab, just like it does for the Storage and Livestock tabs. Here we can see our 640 tons listed in the upper left-hand corner. We can then go back to our Manure tab and enter this value for daily haul source as 640 tons. Thank you for watching this video about how to use the livestock, storage, and spreader calculators as a way to estimate annual manure production in SnapPlus version 3.